They were warned. They were told not to go in. And still, they did. What followed was pure nightmare fuel. These aren't just cave disasters, these are real-life horror stories buried deep beneath the earth, where the walls squeeze tighter, the air thins, and rescue becomes nearly impossible. From flooded caverns and deadly misjudgments to pitch-black labyrinths no human should ever enter, these are the cave-exploring tragedies that went very, very wrong. Nutty Putty Cave, the trap no one escaped. It was supposed to be a bonding trip. Thanksgiving week, 2009. John Edward Jones was back in Utah visiting family. A father, a husband, and a deeply spiritual man, John had always loved adventure. So when the idea came up to explore Nutty Putty Cave again, something he used to do as a kid, it felt like a great way to relive old memories. What John didn't know was that Nutty Putty had changed. It had already gained a reputation as one of the most dangerous caves in the state. People had gotten stuck there before. Rescue teams had been called in, and the cave had even been temporarily closed just a few years earlier. But John went in anyway. The group was familiar with the cave's map. Tight passages, narrow crawls, vertical drops. It wasn't for the faint-hearted. But John was no amateur. He was careful, experienced, and strong. At 6 feet tall and 200 pounds, he wasn't exactly built for worming through pencil-thin holes, but he knew how to handle himself, or so he thought. At around 8 p.m., John decided to explore a narrow tunnel believed to be the birth canal, a tight, twisting vertical passage that required you to go head first. Except, he wasn't in the birth canal. He had unknowingly entered an even smaller, uncharted tunnel, later dubbed Ed's Push. It was only about 10 inches wide and sloped down at a near vertical angle. As John squeezed deeper in, hoping it would widen, gravity pulled him further until he realized too late he was completely stuck, head down, feet up, upside down, and with no room to turn around. His brother Josh tried everything to free him. Pulled on his legs, used a rope. Nothing worked. John was wedged in tighter than anyone thought possible. Rescue teams were called in. Over the next 27 hours, more than 130 rescuers came to the scene. They rigged elaborate pulley systems, drilled into the rock, and even tried giving him IV fluids to keep him alive. But gravity was killing him slowly. Hanging upside down for that long causes blood to rush into the brain and lungs, which the body can't handle for extended periods. Despite their best efforts, John went into cardiac arrest and died before they could free him. Rescuers were devastated, and the location where he died? Too dangerous to retrieve the body. Eventually, Nutty Putty Cave was permanently sealed, his body still inside, making it not just a tomb, but a monument to the dangers that lie beneath. The Mossdale Caverns Tragedy, Yorkshire Dales, UK, 1967. There's something both awe-inspiring and ominous about the Mossdale Caverns in North Yorkshire. These winding, claustrophobic passages stretch beneath the landscape like a forgotten labyrinth, carved by water over thousands of years. Known to experienced cavers for being both stunning and severely unforgiving, Mossdale isn't the kind of cave you casually wander into. It's not for beginners, not even close. And on a grim summer day in 1967, this place turned deadly in a way that still haunts the UK's caving community to this day. Soon, the rainfall reached critical mass. The underground river inside Mossdale swelled rapidly, and the tight, narrow chambers that once offered adventure were now turning into deadly traps. Water surged through the passages with terrifying speed, and 6 of the cavers were caught in its path. There was no time to escape. To this day, the bodies of the 6 victims have never been recovered. That part of Mossdale Caverns was permanently sealed off with concrete, a tomb beneath the earth. The tragedy shook the entire caving community. not just in the UK, but around the world. Mossdale became a name whispered with reverence and with sorrow. The Plura cave diving disaster, Norway's ice-cold nightmare. Deep in the icy grip of Norway's subterranean world lies Plura Cave, a system known for its beauty, but feared for its depth, chill, and absolute lack of forgiveness. The plan was daring but not reckless, or so it seemed. These weren't amateurs. They were part of a close-knit team of highly trained cave divers who had done multiple successful expeditions together. Yet even with all their expertise, what happened next proved just how merciless cave systems like Plura can be. As they ventured deeper, conditions began to deteriorate rapidly. Water temperatures hovered just above freezing, equipment was pushed to its limits, and then came the worst blow. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Imagine swimming in pitch black, not knowing which direction is up or how far the tunnel stretches, all while being hundreds of meters from the nearest surface. In one of the narrowest sections of the dive, disaster struck. Two of the divers lost their orientation and separated from the group. In those suffocating, silent moments, they struggled to find their way back. But the tunnels were too tight, the silt too thick, and time wasn't on their side. Both divers perished deep inside the cold, constricting passage. Norwegian authorities assessed the scene and made a chilling decision. Attempting a recovery would risk more lives. The mission was officially called off. But here's where it gets even more haunting. The surviving team members, devastated and unable to leave their friends behind, quietly returned to Plura. Without telling anyone, they undertook a secret and dangerous dive, navigating the same lethal paths, and managed to bring their fallen friends home. That unthinkable act, equal parts madness and loyalty, was both controversial and legendary within the diving world. It underlined the deep bonds forged between cave divers, but also served as a brutal reminder. Even with experience, planning, and cutting-edge gear, nature makes the rules down there. Caves like Plura don't give second chances. The Jack Shepherd Cliff incident in the Brecon Beacons cave system. Just when everyone thought the worst was behind British cave exploration, another heart-pounding incident reminded the world just how ruthless the underground can be. This time, it was in the beautiful but deceivingly dangerous Brecon Beacons in Wales. Jack Shepherd, a young and adventurous caver, had set out like many others to explore the winding caverns of this ancient system. The terrain here isn't just rough, it's unpredictable. The kind where one misstep, one slight shift in the earth, can turn a thrilling expedition into a full-blown survival crisis. Jack had been crawling through a narrow, rocky chamber when everything around him suddenly began to move. A terrifying rock collapse trapped him deep inside, pinning him in one of the most inaccessible areas imaginable. The moment the alarm was raised, a rescue mission unlike anything seen in decades kicked off. Over 300 expert rescuers, drawn from every corner of the UK, descended on the site. What followed wasn't just a rescue, it was a battle against nature itself. The passages were tight, the rock unforgiving, and the mud slick and claustrophobic. For 54 grueling hours, they fought through razor-thin crevices and near-zero visibility to get to Jack. What makes this story so intense is that there had been warnings about instability in parts of this cave system long before Jack's trip. In fact, some seasoned cavers had actively avoided it because of the known risk of collapses. But like so many thrill-seekers, Jack probably thought he could navigate it safely. The cave, however, had other plans. Incredibly, after more than 2 days underground, they reached him. Exhausted, dehydrated, and barely clinging on, Jack was pulled out in one of the longest, most dangerous cave rescues in UK history. It sparked a nationwide debate about cave safety, with many calling for tighter restrictions, better monitoring, and stricter warnings for amateur explorers. Jack's story didn't end in tragedy, but it very easily could have. His narrow escape highlighted a brutal truth about caving. Even when you survive, the cave takes something from you. Whether it's your sense of safety, your peace of mind, or just the knowledge that things could have ended so differently. The underground never lets you go without a price. After everything we've uncovered today, from chilling entrapments deep beneath the earth to miraculous rescues that tested the limits of human endurance, it's clear that outdoor adventure is a double-edged sword. Caves, cliffs, forests, and mountains are undeniably beautiful. But they're also ancient forces that don't play by our rules. These stories aren't just cautionary tales. They're reminders that nature doesn't care how experienced you are, how prepared you think you might be, or how many times you've done it before. One moment of bad luck, one missed warning, and you could be the next name on a rescue team's radio call. But it's not about avoiding adventure, it's about respecting it. The thrill of exploration is in our DNA, and that won't ever change. What should change is how seriously we take the risks. Know the environment. Understand the warnings. Never underestimate the terrain, and always ask yourself, is this challenge really worth the potential cost? Because behind every headline like "Rescue after 54 hours underground" is a family holding their breath, a team risking everything, and a survivor who'll never forget what the dark really feels like. If you found these stories as gripping as we did, and you want to keep diving into the wild, weird, and unbelievable corners of our planet, hit that like button. Share this with your fellow adventure lovers, and subscribe for more real-life survival stories that will leave you breathless. And if you've ever had a close call out there, drop it in the comments. We want to hear your story too.